The following conversations are taken from our channel membership exclusive weekly live show that we do on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Members Talk Live. Find out how you can become a member and appear on the show. All of the information is down in the description below, as well as all of the links to the channels of today's guests. Check them out, and I hope to talk with you very soon. Before we get into our main topics, I was saying before, I kind of wanted to talk about the movie year so far, because we're basically 4 months in. I mean, it's going to be April here pretty quickly. I just got back from seeing Ghostbusters Frozen Empire from last night, but it kind of got me like, when I was sitting there watching Ghostbusters, it kind of got me thinking about this movie year so far. And I don't know, for me, it's been pretty lackluster. I don't know that besides Dune Part 2, there hasn't really been a movie that's really hit for me yet this year, and I was just kind of curious if I was the only one who felt that way. So I wanted to talk about that with you guys. Like Ryan, how have you been feeling about this movie season?
I mean, personally, I think it's been pretty good. Like you said, Doom Part 2 was a big one. Really enjoyed that. I guess there's been no, oh my god, I need to see this twice in the theater type movies, but I don't know. I've kind
Right.
of enjoyed it. Like I had a good week last week. Love Lies Bleeding and Knox Goes Away, two films that I didn't even know Knox Goes Away was a film, but when I saw Michael Keaton, I was like, all right, I'm in.
I have never heard that movie either, so this is news to me.
Yeah, it's Michael Keaton directed flick. I didn't even know he directed it. But yeah, I guess yeah, Doom Part 2 is kind of like the only big mega blockbuster that I can think of. The only one I can think of really is oddly enough are like Lisa Frankenstein and Argyle, and those are varying levels of good, but they weren't like, blow my mind type good.
Yeah. See, I think like going to those ones specifically, like Lisa Frankenstein was so weird that it is memorable, but I didn't necessarily like it all that much. My review is kind of controversial from what I've seen in the comments, but I wasn't a huge fan of Lisa Frankenstein. I appreciated some of the ambition of it for sure, though. And then Argyle was fine. Like I sat there, I had a decent time, but it wasn't very memorable to me. And I'm finding that a lot with the movies so far. And I'm thinking of like what's coming up next with Khan and Godzilla coming up next
Mhm.
weekend. Like, I'm sure it'll be enjoyable, but I doubt it's going to be a very memorable one. Like, T, what do you think? I mean, we're almost 4 months into this year, and how are you feeling about the movies we've been getting?
So this year kind of feels like 2022 to me, like
Mm,
where there weren't big, like there were big tentpole summer flicks, but there were some real small indie films that would just not indie films, but like just smaller scale films that were just better than the big budget tentpoles. Like Dune 2 is just an excellent. That is by far the best movie I've seen this year. And I don't think any movie other than whether Deadpool and Wolverine comes out and knocks that out of the top spot out of its sheer zaniness.
yeah.
But I don't think too many film. I don't think any film's going to come close to Dune 2. But I've seen other good like I'm a big fan of Book of Clarence. I thought that was an excellent movie. It was just really well written. I just watched a film earlier this week. What is it? Sometimes I Think of Dying, starring Daisy Ridley. Never heard of it. Saw it
Mm.
streaming, watched it. I thought it was fantastic. It was real small scale movie though. It's like the most mundane movie you'll ever watch, but it was just enjoyable. Then I watched Roadhouse, which I absolutely loved. I watched Roadhouse on Amazon Prime, and I'm really upset that they didn't put that in the theater because I think everybody who's watched it, it's just a mindless. It is mindless fun. It's people punching people in the face, and it's just a good time. So, like, there's smaller scale good movies like coming. You just have to find them. I don't think they
Mm.
haven't really put out any big great movies so far because we're in the first quarter. And the Beekeeper, like I thought the Beekeeper was fun. Like I
Mm.
enjoyed Beekeeper. And that was kind of like the surprise. That was the early surprise hit of the year, kind of like Megan was
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Um, but it just the summer's gonna come, and I think the summer is really gonna dictate how the rest of the year is gonna go. I
Yeah.
don't, uh, yeah, there really aren't. think we're out of the age of like these big tempos. I think we're moving past that because those actors have aged out. Like so,
Mm.
until we find something new to cling on to, like I just think we're past that. Like Twisters is coming out, and like if you're old enough
Oh
to
yeah.
remember when the original Twister came out, like that was a juggernaut. For some
I
strange,
haven't
I was
seen it
not a
yet,
big
but
fan of it.
I'm gonna watch it on VHS closer to the release date.
Awesome. That's
The
The
way
awesome.
God
ancient
intended.
texts.
Yes. Watch Bill Paxton is like you have to fix your tracking on your VCR because it's that's awesome. But that movie was so big when it came out, but nobody's looking for Twisters. Like, even though I think it's gonna be great because Glenn Powell is like slowly becoming a huge star right in front of our eyes. But yeah, I just think like with Indiana Jones, I think
Mm.
like I think he brought the end of the tempo. Like I really do. I think the last Indiana Jones is like, all right, do we really need to keep doing these? Like, so we'll see. And then MCU's taking a year off, so that could be
Yeah.
another factor in why this year kind of feels a lot more lackluster than years past.
One of the things that you touched upon in there as well is the streaming aspect, which kind of brings an interesting conversation, I think, up until this point, 4 months in, almost 4 months in. What has been the superior platform, theatrical or streaming so far this year? Because honestly, I think I'm gonna probably go streaming. I think I've enjoyed more stuff on streaming this year than I have in the theaters.
I would almost agree with you there. That's I would need some time to think about it and look at what I've watched so far. But I think most of my movies, yeah, the most movies that I watched that are in the top, because Damsel was pretty good.
I
Like I
enjoyed
said,
Damsel quite a
Roadhouse.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, like they've had some good, and there's a lot of good documentaries out there too, which I've really enjoyed more this year. I feel like than I have in years past.
Speaking of documentaries, I just watched Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV.
Oh yeah.
Whew, man, I mean, like, adored all those shows when I was growing, like Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, Dan Schneider was a huge like idol for me growing up. So that was a hard hit of reality watching that, but it was really well done. It was really good. But Ryan, what about you? What do you think of theatrical versus streaming this year? What have you enjoyed more?
I do have a Netflix account, and I share Disney Plus with my parents. But most like the bulk of the movies I watch, either whether it's like for personal enjoyment or for a review, are mostly theatrical. On occasion I review a streaming movie, but I don't know. I'm a movie theater guy through and through. My grandma once joked, that the theater I worked at had my name written on a seat.
I think you're right, T. I think once the summer comes out and we really get a taste of like the big hitters and seeing how they, you know, come out and see how they land, then we'll know for sure how this year is doing. But I'll just say 4 months in, pretty underwhelmed.
I would agree with that.
Let's get to this. This little
Let's
fun
get
ditty.
to it.
Oh, okay. So Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, right? These guys, Winnie the Pooh, A.A. Milne's creation, went into public domain, and these guys snatched it right up. They were like, I don't know. It's like they've been thinking of this since they were like children, and then they found the opportunity, and they were like, we can do it. And they made a slasher film starring Winnie the Pooh and Piglet called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And I was pretty like in. I know a lot of people like to rip on that movie, and for rightfully so. Like, my thing has always been these guys actually went out and made a movie. Like, it probably wasn't good. I didn't see it, so I personally can't speak to it, but I think enough people have told me that it's not good that I could probably assume it's not good. But these guys actually had an idea. They went out, they executed it. Regardless of how it turned out, they actually did it. And there's something admirable about that to me. But this might be going a little bit too far. This might be going a little bit too far. So this comes to us from Variety. The Poohniverse, guys. The Poohniverse is coming our way. Here's what they had to say. The filmmakers behind Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the micro-budget slasher that sparked headlines for turning A.A. Milne's juvenile bear into a serial killer and made an incredible $5.2 million at the box office after costing under $50,000 to make, have unveiled Poohniverse, Monsters Assemble, bringing together Pooh and various other beloved childhood characters gone bad. Where Avengers Infinity War had Iron Man, Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Thanos, which those are the ones you're going to pick from. No Captain America, no Black. Like, I don't know. I find that a little bit odd, but yeah, anyways, going on. Comparing this to the MCU, Poohniverse from prolific horror collaborators Jagged Edge Production and ITN Studios will team Winnie the Pooh with murderous versions of figures including Bambi, Tinkerbell, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Tigger, Piglet, the Mad Hatter, and Sleeping Beauty for an IP bludgeoning frenzy due for release in 2025. Indeed, on the poster, which Variety is also able to exclusively reveal, Pooh is seen swinging a bear trap on a chain while riding a vicious, bloodthirsty Bambi. Because why not? I mean, the joke writes itself. It's the Poohniverse. It's only got the word Pooh in their universe. I love that. It's hilarious to me. Here's what I think. So going off of what I was saying of these guys actually went out and made a movie. Granted, they used someone else's IP, and it probably turned out really crappy to me. And I know this might be a little bit like pretentious. It's not a real movie. I mean, it was made outside of the Hollywood system. It was made by, it's basically a fan film in my mind. It's basically a fan film that blew up and did really, really well, but it's not really a movie. So I never really took that much offense to the fact that they made this and put it out there. What I do think is getting ridiculous is make something original, make something new. Like you're taking characters that already pre-exist, IP that's already recognizable, that someone else created, and you're benefiting off the fact that people already know it for your crappy movies, basically. And I just think there's something lazy about that. I think there's something cheap about that. And I mean, you look at the guys down here, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. I mean, that's the quality you're going to get from this universe. It's not going to be this awesome image of Winnie the Pooh riding on actual Bambi. Like it's gonna be some weird, crappy animatronic Velocipaster looking thing. Like it's not gonna look good. It might have a little bit of an increased budget since they made $5 million off the first film, but I don't think that this is a universe that's going to succeed. I think Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was very much just a fad. I don't think it's going to be something that will actually generate that much more buzz. I think once you've seen it, and I think this will slowly start to lose its appeal. But that's just me. Are you guys excited for the Poohniverse? Ryan, what do you think? The Poohniverse is coming. How excited are you, man?
I mean, I'll say why I commented on the trailer. It looks like a fake trailer they'd make on SNL, except it's an actual trailer. It's like, I mean, the 100-Acre Massacre. It's like, oh, come on. It's if you want to make a slasher movie, make a slasher movie. But I mean, it's the whole joke of insert beloved childhood icon here, but ruined. Like Robot Chicken kind of mastered that art already. It's like, what more do you have to add?
I've never watched Blood and Honey. I will never watch Blood and Honey. But so Zach, you're in Canada, correct?
I am, yep.
Do y'all have Tubi in Canada?
Yep, I got Tubi.
Okay, so Tubi, like these movies, like if you've ever gone down a rabbit hole of just looking through movies on Tubi, I've done this where I've spent hours going down the rabbit hole, and in days, there was a week where I just watched some of the worst movies you've ever heard of, you've ever seen on Tubi, and it was like a train wreck, and I couldn't stop because these were terrible movies. And they were like movies. There was one movie, The Stepmother, right? You've heard of Stepfather. That was like an 80s movie. They had like 4 or 5 sequels. If you've never heard of it, I won't hold you to that. It starred Terry Quinlan from Lost. Like he was the stepfather in like 3 of them. But but they had the stepmother, right? They had these they would title these movies something close to like Sharknado. Then they had like Octopus, like something weird where it would just be like a riff on something you've heard of. And that's what this reminds me of. I'm not gonna watch any of these movies, but I think that like I'm all for creativity, right? Like, and yes, they're not original IPs, but they're original thoughts
Hmm.
on known IPs. Um, so I'm not gonna bash it, like, but I'm not gonna watch it. Like I won't.
Yeah.
Like I just I can't see myself going to the theater to watch Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, which I think came out this weekend actually. I think it either
Oh,
comes out
did it?
this weekend. I think so. I when I was looking at AMC, I think it came out. It might have came out wide release here, but it didn't
I haven't
come
been paying
here where
attention.
I'm at. But I just I can't see myself going to see that in the theater. Like I just
Yeah.
can't. But I mean, more power to them. Like if it makes money, I mean, the Terrified 2 made money, and I didn't think that
Mhm.
that was like, the Godfather 2, but that made them money because they make them so cheaply that
Yeah.
it's $50,000 and making $5 million. I would go make a Poohniverse too. Like if you're gonna 500 times, my budget, it makes sense fiscally, but
Yeah.
I won't endorse it.
I mean, like, I can play devil's advocate against myself because, like, is this really any different than Disney taking these beloved folk tales and making them their own thing? Is this really any different than Once Upon a Time that took these fairy tale characters and made them their own thing? So that is a fair point. That's a totally fair point. People have been taking public domain figures and making them their own creative things for a very long time. So I actually will give you that. That's very fair. There's definitely just this kind of bias towards this universe in particular because it just seems like a joke in and of itself. Like it does not seem like something to be taken seriously. And I would say that the filmmakers are having fun with that with you, that they're not taking it seriously, but they were like out there trashing people who were giving their movie a negative obviously they take this seriously, obviously they see this as their art, and totally fair. Like they created it, they made it, like I said, very admirable. They went out and did it. So if they that is their art, like it is. But I think I would be more accepting of it if I was like, yeah, these guys know that this is really stupid and bad, and they're just having fun with us, but they're not. They actually think that they're creating something of high value, and I think that's probably why I'm a little bit more harsh on this idea because
I mean,
it's
Tommy
just
Wiseau
so
also thought The
silly.
Room was like Tommy Wiseau thought The
Yep,
Room was The Godfather too. Like he really did.
very true.
So
I
I
think he
mean,
still does to this day, I think.
yeah, yes.
But once the negative reception, or not negative, but like once people saw it as like the so bad it's good that it was, he adapted and was like, "Oh yeah, that was totally," and he's had fun with it ever since, right? That's what these guys need to do. They need to stop attacking people who give their fan film a negative review and just have fun with their concept and have fun with the audience and just know that the audience thinks that these are campy, stupid, poorly made, cheap, bad movies that are fun to watch for how bad they are, and they just need to have more fun with that, I think.
They could turn this into like the Rocky Horror Picture Show where you have like these midnight shows where people come dressed up as like
Yeah.
like they could like you could there are ways to do that. Like you just have to you got to think outside the box. These are going to become cult classics. Like at least the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. I think if they marketed it right, it probably could have made more than $5 million. Like, but you got to know your audience. You said that these guys made this up when they thought of this when they were kids. No, they thought of this when they were adults, when they were taking a little bit of the medicinal, like they one night they were probably watching, Christopher Robin. They had that Christopher Robin movie with I think Johnny Depp starred in that movie and they were like, man, what if we turn with like they were high out of their mind. Yeah, exactly. Like and that's where that it couldn't have came from anywhere else. Like
That's a very good point.
it couldn't have came from anywhere else. But like just lean into it. Like because these movies can be fun if you lean into the camp. I mean, you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, like how the first one took itself super seriously, and then when they figured man, we like when they hit Dream Warriors, they found their niche, right? And then they just leaned into it. And I think that's where Freddie became like a cult, like gain that cult following. And I think they could do the same thing with this. They really could. Like, but
Yeah.
you got to lean into it. And if they market this well, um, it could do well. Like as long as they keep the budgets low and they're not making $200 million Winnie the Pooh movies, like which I don't think they'll ever get there. But like they keep the budgets low and keep their expectations modest, they could really like it could really become, something fun and something exciting and something silly. Like, but if they like that poster seems serious. Like if they try to do that, then it's not gonna work.
It's just a gimmick that's gonna wear thin. Like I think $5 million for their first outing was the curiosity, was the this can't be real crowd coming out. Oh my gosh, it's real. I maybe they hit 3 million with Blood and Honey 2, maybe, but I don't know. I just think the box office is going to be dwindling because I think it's just going to be this gimmick. Like when you look at Disney, when you look at Once Upon a Time, they took folklore and fairy tale characters, and even Shrek, you can argue, took characters from fairy tales, but made them characters and made them iterations of them. This is just the whole gimmick here is it's this named childhood figure that but now he's a serial killer. Like that's all they really have to this, right? Like Ryan, what do you think? Are you me and Tia have had a back and forth here going on, but what do you think of all this? Do you think that this is a universe that you could see thriving in a so bad it's good way that will become this kind of cult classic hit in the future?
I don't know. Maybe, it's certainly unique in that it might be first to the party, kind of. But unless they have like some substance to their ideas, because like you said, it's just, hey, it's Winnie the Pooh, but he's a serial killer. If they like, again, I hate to say this, but if they take like the actual lore from Winnie the Pooh and try to like actually incorporate that, like, not just a guy in a Winnie the Pooh mask going out and, murdering, teenagers. It's like, but like try to put some, for lack of a better phrase, writing into it. Yeah.
I think we can just go to buy or sell from here, guys. The Poohniverse. The Poohniverse. Do we buy or sell the Poohniverse? I'm gonna sell it.
I'm on the fence. I think if done right. Now, is it gonna make more than $5 million? Probably not. Like I don't like I think that's a good ceiling if you keep the budgets low. All it takes is a good buzz. Like it takes 3 or 4 of not me, but like people above, like the movie critics above me, the what's it, Jeremy Johns. Like if he comes out there and says, I had a good time with this movie, I can guarantee you that'll give him another $3 million right there. Like it just takes the right people to say the right things that'll get people more curious, and then they'll go out and see it.
If I see a Chris Stuckman thumbnail with Winnie the Pooh behind it, I'm gonna be like, "Oh crap! I gotta check this movie out."
Exactly.
It's been great talking, but I gotta head out.
Oh, absolutely, man. Tell people where they can find you though before you go, man.
You can find me on YouTube at Movie Reviews with Ryan Lane, and you can also find me on Letterboxd at Movie Reviews with Ryan Lane.
Excellent, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you stopping by, giving us your time, dude. And you have a good rest of your day, man.
All right, thank you. You too. All right, take care. Bye.
We got a whole bunch of trailers this past week that I can't possibly have all of them on for topics because we just don't have time. But I picked some of the ones that I was able to catch and some of the bigger ones that I wanted to talk about. So first one I want to kind of kick off with is The Acolyte with Star Wars, because The Acolyte is something we've been pretty curious about. At least I've been very curious about since it was first announced. I mean, we're focusing on the Sith. We're going back I think we're going back hundreds of years before the prequels even. So this is like a whole different time frame, a whole different time period for Star Wars, whole new characters, expansion of the lore. So I've been looking forward to The Acolyte, but The Acolyte was also announced before I got burnt out on Disney Plus Star Wars, because I don't know about you. Actually, I will ask you, how are you feeling about Disney Plus Star Wars? Because for me, Obi-Wan was a disappointment. Mandalorian fell off for season 3. I loved Andor, but Ahsoka was just kind of fine, and Book of Boba Fett I thought was just sucked. So my enthusiasm for these projects has kind of dwindled. How are you feeling about them?
So I will say this: once Grogu showed up on the screen in the very first episode of Mandalorian, I was over. I was over Star Wars. I'm
Wow.
probably the one person on the planet who hates that character. I've watched. I would say I've watched the
You hate
majority.
Grogu?
Yes, I
Baby Yoda.
despise.
Wow.
I despise. I don't like that was one of my biggest gripes with Ghostbusters was the little
The little marshmallow man.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hate those little characters that are there for cuteness value and really
Ever since
don't
the
bring
Minions,
anything.
everyone's trying to
Yes,
find their minions.
yeah, yes, they're trying to find these things like that are there for cute value, and I got it. Book of Boba Fett is where they truly lost me. I watched The Mandalorian, and then it got to the Book of Boba Fett, and that was terrible. Like it was just I had no excitement of the Book of Boba, and I thought that that show was going to be great. I watched maybe one episode of Ahsoka. I did watch Obi-Wan, which I thought was okay. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was great. And I haven't watched Andor. I don't know what I was doing in my life when Andor came out. But I just never got a chance to binge watch Andor, which I've said this before. Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, so Andor is probably right up my alley. But I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So I'm I'm not the biggest fan. What was the last one that just came out that
Was it
had
Ahsoka the last one?
was it yeah, it was Ahsoka. So I watched maybe
Yeah.
3 episodes of that. Yeah. Because then I realized that I never saw Star Wars Rebels, so I was kind of lost in some of these characters. And then
Right.
I tried to go and watch some Star Wars Rebels, and I was like, "Why am I doing this? This is like that's not. It's not for
Yeah.
me. Like
It
it
didn't
just
hold my attention.
yeah, it just wasn't for me. And there are people who love that. Like there are people who love Star Wars Rebels, who was really excited for Ahsoka because it had those characters live action. But like after, and my daughter walked on me watching it. She enjoys it. So I get like I can like I'm the old gruffy Clint Eastwood character in Gran Torino who just get off my lawn like so it's not for me. Like I think Star Wars is past me. I didn't. Well, we'll talk about the trailer. We'll
For
get there,
sure.
but I'm
For
not
sure.
excited about you know the Acolyte.
Yeah, let's just get into this trailer then. Because going into this trailer, I did a trailer reaction for it, and I said at the beginning of the trailer reaction, like, I'm burnt out on Star Wars. This has to do something to get me excited again. This has to get my enthusiasm back up, or else I'm just probably not going to care. And it was a teaser, to be fair. So it's not that it gave much story. It didn't really tell us what. I mean, I think this is supposed to be like a mystery story in the Star Wars universe taking place with the Sith and the Jedi, and they didn't really touch on any of that in the teaser. It was very much just like establishing shots and showing you characters and showing you the Jedi, which I liked seeing the Jedi, especially like this time period of the Jedi. I don't know why there's like this big thing in Star Wars recently where they're like, we're tired of the Jedi, get rid of the Skywalkers, get rid of the Jedi, like just move. And I'm like, it's Star Wars. Give me Jedi. I love the Jedi. Like I want to see Jedi. So seeing the Jedi in here, that was cool. That put a smile on my face when all of them like lunged out at the end of the trailer, kind of like Attack of the Clones. Um, but the trailer, it just to me, it just looked and felt like every other Disney Plus Star Wars. Like it's shot on the volume for the majority of it. It's got the same muted colors. It's got the same kind of vibe to everything. It's gonna be 30 minutes to 35 minutes an episode. It's only like 6 or 7 episodes long. It's just we've gone through this over and over and over, and this is made in the same period where the regime was Bob Chapek, like all those other Disney Plus shows, and I just don't have faith in it. I think if anything, it's gonna turn out fine. Like I think it'll have moments that will make me smile, like Obi-Wan did. I think it'll have moments where I was like, "That was awesome! So glad I got to see that," like Ahsoka did. But as a whole, I can't get excited about this show because I know how these shows have gone, and this looks like more of the same to me. So I'm curious to see your thoughts on that, man. What did you think of the teaser as far as like feeling the same as the rest of the show? So did you think that this felt different and this looks fresh and unique and like a Star Wars project that we haven't seen before?
No. I thought it looked exactly like Revenge of the Sith, like with the kids. It had like that sheen to it, that Star Wars sheen of like it reminded me
Mm-hmm.
of the prequels. Like it had the visuals of the prequels, like that really, like you said, the light colors, how they look in their robes.
Does
Um
make sense for the time period though.
yeah, no, it does, but it totally disengaged me. Like as I was watching the trailer, when Carrie Ann Moss showed up, I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like the female Amanda Steinberg, I think that's her name, who has like the mat, like she's wearing that veil. Um, it just doesn't look exciting. At the end of the trailer, when they had the big explosion, so I think this series is really banking on a villain, like a Darth Maul level villain that's gonna like look really cool. I'm a huge fan of Knights of the Old Republic, the video game. If this person turns out to be Darth Revan, then
That's the rumor.
you
That
got
is the
me.
rumor I've heard.
I'll at least watch it, right? But if they don't, then I don't care. Like that's where I'm at with this. It was the trailer was just underwhelming. I think that they're really
Mm-hmm.
banking on people's Star Wars love to get us to watch these things. But once again, like the people who watched the original trilogy who truly love the films the way that the fandom did, or and it might still do. There are definitely still toxic Star Wars fans out there. But those people, they've kind of aged out. I mean, they're like older than me. Like they're my age or a little bit older who fondly remember the original trilogy, who are like those diehard fans.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the Rise of Skywalker kind of push those guys away. And they're younger fans who watch Rebels and they watch the other cartoon, the animated series, but like those aren't hardcore Star Wars fans, like the guys who like did fan videos of like Star Wars. I worked with guys who would do like fan videos and they would dress up and they would have lightsabers and they would go to the premieres in full Star Wars garb and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I think those days are over. I don't see the fandom as rabid as they were, previously.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Zack Attack, welcome, man. Thanks for joining us. He's saying Acolyte does just look fine, and yeah, I totally agree with that. And one of the things that really stuck out to me about watching this teaser that kind of clicked for me, ever since Star Wars went to Disney Plus, which I mean, not rewriting history, going back, I was stoked. We were gonna get live action Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, like they seemed like they were gonna have movie budgets and everything. Like, oh, it was what a time that was to be alive. It was insane, especially when they announced Obi-Wan. Like, I've been waiting to see an Obi-Wan something forever, and then the show was and it ended up being a disappointment. But one of the things about the Disney Plus Star Wars shows is they make Star Wars feel so small in scope and scale. That like, especially the shot. Do you remember like when in the movies, like when someone got force choked or lifted up or like pushed or something, it just like you felt the impact almost of those actions. In this trailer, when she like gets force pushed back and she's like sliding on the floor or whatever, I'm like, it looks cheap. I can almost see the wires on this actor. Like it doesn't have the grandioseness that and that's one of the reasons why I think they really got to get back into the theaters. They got to give these things the blockbuster budgets. They got to go all in and they got to give Star Wars that grandiose scope and scale again. But yeah, this trailer, it just with a series of disappointments, this just kind of reminded me of those disappointments. So I didn't really see anything in this trailer that I was like, I'm anticipating this release date, gotta watch it. Like, I'm gonna watch it because it's Star Wars and I do this YouTube thing. But other than that, I'm just kind of like, going through the motions on this one.
I think so. Going back to the force choke thing, you had John Williams, who anytime somebody got force choked, there was like something audible, like the audio too, but it was usually Darth Vader, right? He was the master of the force choke, and when he did anything, like his movements were so they were just they were bigger than him. Like anytime he made a move, because he very rarely did anything, he would talk and then you piss him off and he would just choke you, right? And
Yeah.
but that was like a moment in a movie. Like when like I don't know who Carrie Ann Moss's character is, nor do I care, right? Like she's not Trinity.
Yeah.
If it was Trinity doing it, like, oh man, Trinity's force choking somebody. Like once we get to the characters, if the characters are great, then it matters. But if they're not, then it doesn't. Like they have to and you said earlier people were getting tired of Jedi. I don't think they were getting tired of Jedi. They were getting tired of Skywalkers. Like I was tired of Sky. I want to see more Jedi. I don't want to see any more Skywalkers. Like I don't like. I think that story is over. I would love to see other Jedi out there who have other conflicts.
You touch on two things that I think are very important about Star Wars. I think people put too much bank on the universe itself. Like it's a cool universe, but I think people underestimate just how important the family drama and the Shakespearean like storytelling of the soap opera-ness of it all. I think they don't realize how important that actually was to Star Wars. Because that was, for me, that was the hook of Star Wars. Like Luke, Leia, Han, Darth Vader. I was there for the characters. Like the world was cool, the universe was cool, but I was there because I loved the characters. So like I didn't want to stop with the Skywalkers. The Skywalkers for me was the hook of the Star Wars story. And there's been cool, side character like Mandalorian was a cool character, and like yeah, Boba Fett was really cool in Mandalorian season 2 and stuff like that. But for me, like my hook into Star Wars was those characters. So by losing those characters, you are going to like Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like when the Obi-Wan series was coming out, I was really amped for that because I knew these characters and I was hooked on the characters, right? So I think number one, they put too much bank into the universe over the characters, like you were saying. Like, yeah, it's cool that she's here as a Jedi, but what does that mean? As a character, what is she going to do? What is she going to mean to the story? And a second thing that you touched upon that I think is very important is a lot of people say that John Williams' score saved Star Wars. Like Star Wars doesn't work without John Williams' score. Those movies, like those a big reasons those movies work, and George Lucas has said it himself. People who worked on the film have said it themselves for years. Is the music of Star Wars is what makes Star Wars, and these Disney Plus shows don't have the music. They don't have the score. So you already lost the hook with the characters and you've lost the music that Star Wars needs to essentially breathe life into the story. So yeah, the Disney Plus shows and everything. Like I honestly don't think Star Wars will ever reach the heights of what Star Wars was with the original trilogy and even the prequels, because there's just so many elements that made those iconic and memorable and beloved series missing in these new iterations. What do you think about that? Because I think you touched upon those, and I think those are very important.
I think so. I equate it. So you have to love Star Wars to make Star Wars. I think George Lucas created this world. He created that idea. Oh, he had that idea and he saw the story that he wanted to tell. And once he did the prequels, and I think the prequels really soured him to doing any more because of the divisiveness of it, and rightfully so. Because I was one of those people who, after the second watch, I enjoyed Revenge of the Sith. I think that saved the prequels for me from being
I
abysmal.
love that movie.
Like
All its flaws, I love it.
yes, it was it like Attack of the Clones.
Not as much.
Bless them, bless them for making that.
Bless
movie.
them, they tried.
But then you get the sequels, right? I loved Force Awakens. It was so nostalgia bait. I got it. Like, but that's what I came there for. Like, in all honesty, I came there for the fun, right? You had
Yep.
Chewie, you had Han, and you had a badass villain, right? You had Adam Driver, like he was a badass, like he looked
Yep.
great. And then at the end of it, you had Luke show up, and I was like, man, I'm so looking forward to the second one. Rian Johnson, bless him. Like he came out there and I enjoyed The Last Jedi until they boxed Star Wars in the corner. I remember leaving The Last Jedi thinking, where do they go from here? Like that should have been the end of the trilogy. Like that could have ended the trilogy with that note that they ended on. It was so they boxed them so like it was almost impossible to complete that trilogy in a fun and exciting way. And instead of going in fun and exciting, they went the opposite.
Right.
And with that being said, like it just we'll never I know we can get there, but you just have to put it in the right hands. And it has to be one set of hands. It can't
Mhm.
be 3 different directors. It has to be one vision to make 3 concise films or just one great film. Like it doesn't need to be a trilogy. It could just be one amazing film and then tell another story. It doesn't have to be another trilogy because once again, if Indiana Jones has taught us anything, we don't need we don't need to round things out just to say we rounded things out. We don't need to end the story, make another movie just to say we made another movie to round out somebody's story. Um, would I like to see another Ray movie? Sure. Is she really like an exciting character that I really care about? No. I care more about Finn and
Mm.
Poe like than I did anybody else. And the way they wrote them in those
Oh
like I
man,
would
dude, they wasted them.
we talked about Rogue Squadron last week. Like you put Poe in like a Rogue Squadron movie, like, and then you write that character the right way.
Mhm.
You've got, I mean, Oscar Isaac is an amazing actor. Like he's a great character. He's the reason why people invested in Moon Knight, which I didn't enjoy, but he's such a good actor. I
Mhm.
wanted to see what he did next. Like, and you just wasted him, man. I mean, it's right there. Like they had so many great things like right in front of them, but they just they went the opposite direction in which they should have. Like the Palpatine, like man, it can't get there. I'm long-winded just because it's really disappointing. Like
Yeah.
like it's disappointing seeing where they are right now. Uh and I mean, it could be Disney Plus, right? We see what they've done with the Marvel friend, the Marvel IP. It's not helped. Like Disney Plus hasn't helped
Yeah.
Disney really recapture any magic. I don't know how they're making money. Like I don't know if they're making money off of these IPs. I mean, because yeah, it's looking rough.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, this ended up being more of a discussion about the state of Star Wars, but yeah, I think Acolyte does play into that for sure. So, I mean, with that, man, maybe not the show overall, but do we buy or sell the trailer? Was the trailer enough
Oh, trailer was
for the
terrible.
show? Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no,
Yeah, we both
trailer.
agree.
Yeah, trailer was mid at best.
I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan. Like, of most of his movies I don't enjoy. And recently he's been getting a lot into like really heavy CG, like Dumbo was very CGI heavy. And granted, I think he went back to his more uh practical roots with the Wednesday show. But when
Mhm.
they announced the new Beetlejuice, which I really like that first Beetlejuice movie. I think the ending has problems, but for the most part, I think that's a real fun romp of a time with ghosts. I really like that first Beetlejuice. When they announced a new Beetlejuice movie, I was really nervous. I was curious, but it was Tim Burton, Michael Keaton coming back, Winona Ryder coming back, Captain O'Hara coming back. Like you had the original team behind the first one coming back, but it was Tim Burton during this era of Tim Burton CGI-ness is what I was basically worried about. So, anyways, we got the first teaser for Beetlejuice the other day. Very short, only like a minute, 6 seconds long. Not much to it, but in that minute, they were able to capture the classic feel of Beetlejuice for me. I thought that this trailer did what it needed to do for me personally, which was put my fears at ease. Because when I watched this trailer, you see Jenna Ortega there. She's riding across the bridge that the couple fell off of and died in the first film, which was great. It felt practical. It felt like the world of Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder looked great. Catherine O'Hara looked great. And then you get that last shot. They pull the display back and Beetlejuice comes rising, which I don't know why they've held on to that. I would have gotten rid of that a long time ago. But
Yes.
Beetlejuice comes up, the juice is loose, like a great line. And that was basically the whole teaser. But in that little teaser, I got way more excited for Beetlejuice than I had been before. What did you think of this teaser? What has your anticipation been for Beetlejuice, and what do you think of the first film?
So I'll start with the first film. I remember watching the first film. I think I went to the theater. I'm almost positive I for sure went to the theater. I went and saw every New Line because this came out from New Line Cinema. And I don't know why we went to see every New Line Cinema film. But I remember my cousins loving this more than I did. It was the shrunken head thing. It was like one scene where the guy was sitting there and it disturbed me. And it not in like a creepy way. It was just like that just looks so weird. Um, but so I wasn't like the biggest Beetlejuice fan, but I'm a huge Michael Keaton fan. Like I think Michael Keaton is like one of the most underrated actors, artists, entertainers of any generation. He just doesn't get the credit that he deserves for being so great. Um, and I wasn't excited when I heard it. I was like, "Man, this is a cash grab." All right, like you said, Tim Burton has made some duds over
Yep.
the last few years, and it was like, "All right, he's going back to a proven." I'm surprised they haven't. Like, if Johnny Depp and Amber Heard didn't have their thing, I'm pretty sure he would have made an Edward Scissorhands 2 at this point. Like he was looking for something to get him back, and so I wasn't super excited, but like when that house, man, when he popped out here and I thought he was gonna say it's showtime, but the juice is loose, that won me. Like instantly won me because it's self-aware and that just showed like I just have faith. I have faith in Michael Keaton and I have faith in Jenny Ortega and Winona Ryder. I don't think that those three and Catherine O'Hara, I love her. Like she was one of the saviors of Argyle to me. Like she was fantastic in Argyle.
Yes, I completely
And,
agree with that.
and so I have faith in this group of character, a group of people coming together and just saying, you know what, let's just make a good movie. Let's make it fun. It's going to be entertaining, and I'm there for it. The trailer definitely excited me for what's coming next for this film.
Well, much like the teaser, let's just keep this short and sweet. Do we buy or sell Beetlejuice based off this teaser? Yeah, I'm there for it. I
Same there.
was in a minute. I was very impressed. So Matt Reeves did the Batman 2022, and I think instantly won over every Batman fan. Like even people who weren't Batman fans, I think he instantly won over them. I think Robert Pattinson was great. The story was great. What he did with the Riddler was fantastic. But one character in the Batman that really stuck out was Colin Farrell as the Penguin. And it wasn't too long after the Batman that we learned that Matt Reeves and Colin Farrell were teaming up for a Penguin series on HBO Max. Now, it's been kind of quiet for a little bit. We had a little bit of like a behind the scenes sizzle reel, I think last year. But, with the strikes and everything going down, the project kind of went a little bit silent until yesterday when we got our first teaser for the Penguin. And it's much like Beetlejuice. It's not a long teaser. It's only a minute or 2 minutes, something like that. And it's not what I was expecting, but it was what I wanted. Absolutely what I wanted. Because this whole trailer was basically just the Penguin sitting down, telling a story about a mobster with some flashes of his crime life. And it just gave like Goodfellas. It gave like a classic gangster story vibe to it in this comic book Batman world. And the tone of it, the vibe of it, it was everything that I was looking for to come out of this show. What did you think, man? Like, they dropped this teaser yesterday. First look at, or official look, really, at this show. Was it what you were hoping to see? Did it exceed your expectations? What did you think of this one?
So I think it met my expectations. I actually had low expectations. The further we got away from the Batman, I started to wane on interest of the Penguin show because I was just trying to figure out where they were going to go with it after the ending of the Batman. Um, and when I saw this trailer, like I just got lost in how good Colin Farrell looks as the Penguin. Like he doesn't look like I don't see Colin Farrell when I'm looking at the Penguin, and that's a master
Mhm.
class in
Makeup,
makeup like that.
acting,
So I
everything.
mean, I was trying to figure out what actor he looks like. He looks like another actor, and I can't think of his name. I kept thinking Alfred Molina, but he doesn't really look like Alfred Molina. But he looks like another guy that I've seen before. But he's Colin Farrell's an Irish guy. He has this great accent. Like he sounds like a mobster, and it kind of reminded me of Sopranos. I don't know why I got Sopranos vibe from it, and that excited me. I was like, man, they're gonna go a different route from this. It's not gonna be, you know. Hopefully, the Batman never shows up in this series. Like, I really don't want to see him at all. Like, I
Yeah.
want this to be just a great series about the underworld of Gotham, how the Penguin moves on from, the Batman, and hopefully it'll tie into, the Batman sequel. But I'm really excited about this show. I was not prior to seeing the teaser trailer, but just seeing how much like they're putting effort into it. You can tell that they're putting effort into this series. It looks great. It has that same tone. It has that same darkness. It has that same like hue of
Yeah.
just it being a constant night in Gotham. It looks like, you know, it, it looks great. I can say I'm truly excited about it. Hey, how's it going, Michael?
Hey,
Very good.
Michael, you're catching like right at the end of the show, man. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny, man. I'm used to usually doing the show at like 10 o'clock because the time zones are different. But then when I joined the thing and I saw it was 56, I'm like, oh crap, I must have looked at the time wrong. But I guess I'm still happy to be a part of the last couple minutes.
Happy to have you here, man. We'll extend a little bit just because you popped in here,
Yeah,
man. So,
sure, sure.
we're talking about the Penguin series. We're talking about the Penguin teaser that just dropped. Did you have a chance to check that out?
I did, yes, yes. I'll kind of make my thing real quick. I'm actually very excited because I loved the Matt Reeves Batman film. I thought, in my opinion, was probably the best Batman film we've got, and I loved Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and the idea of him getting like his own series, because in a way he almost kind of looked like he kind of reminded me of like a deformed looking Tony Soprano, and I like the idea of him being the character of a TV show. So I think, like I said, it's like The Sopranos meets Gotham. I think that's actually a pretty awesome idea for a show.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The Sopranos is another one where it was like they're definitely taking inspiration from a lot of these kind of shows like this, and yeah, I mean, I think the teaser is short and sweet, so we can keep it short and sweet as well. Like, do we buy or sell this Penguin TV series based off this teaser? I'm gonna absolutely buy it. It was excellent. Let's talk about Alien Romulus here, man. The Alien series has been a little bit up and down over the last couple of
Little
years.
bit.
I think the last movie I can confidently say I loved was Aliens, and that was 1989.
4.
I don't remember. 84, was it 84?
I think
It was early.
it
Yeah.
was that was I think that was James Cameron's. No, that wasn't his first. Yeah, so that was like after the first Terminator, and then he did that between that and The Abyss. So I think it was like 88, 89.
Yeah, something like that. But it was probably the last Aliens movie that I like Alien 3. Like, I know a lot of people hate it, and
Okay.
I understand why they hate it, especially the first 5 minutes. I thought it was kind of enjoyable. I liked it. But
I
Alien
mean,
has not.
David Fincher hates that movie.
Yeah, and he made it, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something.
right.
I liked it. I liked it well enough, anyways. But Alien hasn't really popped in a while. I mean, they tried to do the Prometheus prequel stuff. They tried to combine Prometheus with Alien Covenant. For me, it just didn't really work. I'm sure some people might have loved it, but for me, it just didn't really work. So when I found out that they were doing a new Alien movie, I was pretty optimistic. I was pretty, especially coming off of Prey, which Prey kind of reset and took Predator back to its roots. I was hoping Alien could do the same. So we got our first teaser for this thing the other day, and it definitely did what I wanted it to do. Again, like a lot of these teasers we're talking about, it was only like a minute long, minute and 17 seconds, something like that. It was not very long at all. But it captured the first Alien so well, because Alien started off as a horror movie. I mean, after Aliens, it kind of went more into like actiony, but that first Alien, the horror, the suspense, the tension, the drama, like all of that stuff in the first Alien came through in this small little teaser to me. And there were like moments that horrified me with all the screaming in the distance as we were going through the hallway. The production design, the set dressing, everything just looks like they're harkening back to that 1979 original Alien, which looks great. And the face huggers coming out and chasing them, that was a thrill that I really enjoyed. The blood on the sleeping, whatever you call that, what do you call those things, like the sleeping chambers or whatever, like
cryo chamber or whatever.
Yeah, cryo chamber, something like that. Yeah, like that was terrifying, and just the run, like it was great. It was great. I loved this teaser. Michael, what did you think? How big of a fan of you are? Sorry, let me rephrase that. How big of a fan are you of the Alien franchise, and does this look like it's going to meet your fan expectations?
Oh yeah, I love the Alien franchise, even though they kind of went down after 2. It seems like every time for these great sci-fi films, they always fall after 2. Terminator, Predator, even though Predator 2 is still kind of iffy, But I love Alien, of course. I love Aliens. Alien 3. I mean, David Fincher said that he'd rather have colon cancer than direct another movie. So that should tell you.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Right, it's an insane thing, man. And then Alien Resurrection. It's a guilty pleasure. It's not a good movie at all, but it's a guilty pleasure. And then obviously, Alien versus Predator, and then Alien versus Predator Requiem. They're okay. Basically, and then obviously Prometheus, which I didn't mind at all. I haven't seen in such a long time. And I only saw Alien Covenant when it came out in theaters, and I've really never had the urge to watch it again. It wasn't terrible. It's just there was nothing about it that made me go, I have to rewatch this movie. So I think it's going to be good. I mean, Ridley Scott's not in the director's chair. Instead, you got Fede Alvarez, who actually directed Don't Breathe, which I thought was a really, really well-made thriller.
Underrated.
Very underrated. The sequel, didn't really understand, but oh well. But I'm very excited, man. I think Fede Alvarez is a very talented filmmaker, and seeing what he was able to do with a very small, low-budget thriller, and being able to see what he's going to do with a really big budget, and being able to take on this iconic franchise, I have a feeling that it'll at least be good. That's what I'm hoping.
All right, T, what about you? You saw this teaser. How big of an Alien fan are you, and did this meet your expectations?
So I'm not the biggest Alien fan. As a kid, I watched Aliens, and it scared the bejesus out of me. I can say I've honestly watched the original Alien once, and that also, as a kid, scared the bejesus out of me. It's such a dark film. That's what in Alien 3 was just. It wasn't the worst film. Like I remember being super excited about it, but then after seeing the plot, I was like, man, this is kind of takes it. Like, how do you beat an alien when you don't have any weapons? You're in the jail. Right. Like it just. And I honestly can say I don't remember anything about that movie other than Sigourney Weaver having a ball head. And then Alien Resurrection it happened. It was a movie that was made, and she played basketball. Like, so I don't have super fond memories other than the early 2 films just being super scary. But I think Fede Alvarez is the wild card, right? Because he made the Evil Dead remake, which is such a great movie. Like I really
great.
It's so I think that he understands. Like he understood the assignment there, and I think he understands the assignment with this Alien franchise. Like Covenant, I've actually never seen Covenant because after Prometheus, I just was disinterested in the franchise. Um, and I heard just bad things about Covenant. Like no one really said it was this great alien film that got back to its roots. But I think Fede Alvarez is really going to handle it the way it needs to be handled. And if anything, it's just going to be scary and bloody. Like the teaser trailer showed me that with facehuggers just jumping out and just, that that one scene where it just latches on to the young girl's face.
Yeah.
Just that
Going down her how
actually,
gross was it when it was like going down her throat? Like that was
Oh,
that
I
was
love that.
disgusting.
Love
and
it.
the blood everywhere is like, all right, if one thing we know, he's gonna make a bloody movie, and that's what it should be, right? It needs to be scary. Doesn't need to be a gore fest, but at the same time, it needs to be tense. I
Mhm.
think it was a little too light for Alien. Like there was a lot of light in those shots. I prefer my Alien a lot darker, like a
I
dank
agree.
ship, like a ship that looks like it's about 2 seconds away from falling out of the sky. Like it needs to look like like Scotty needs to go do some more mechanic work to keep it running. But it was a lot of light there. Kind of reminded me of like the rebooted Star Trek where it was like everything was really bright, which I mean, it's a teaser trailer, so who knows if any of that actually is in the film, like at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully
Very
it goes a little darker. Maybe they made it that light just for the trailer. But that was my only hang up of it. It was just too much color. Like it should be a little more muted to kind of increase the tension. But I mean, Fidel Alvarez, he hasn't let me down yet. So hopefully he'll keep up his track record of just making good, tight, and concise horror films.
I agree. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I think we might have already given away our cards, but do we buy or sell Alien Romulus based off this? Yeah, based off this
definitely buy
teaser.
it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it. I mean, has it been confirmed? Is it still airing on Disney Plus, or has it been moved to theatrical? Do we know that?
I think it is theatrical, actually, from
Is
what
it
I've seen.
theatrical?
Yeah, because usually whenever like they make it like a streaming thing, it always says like Hulu, Disney Plus. From what I've seen, it doesn't. I mean, if it is on Disney Plus, I'll still watch it. But
Yeah.
that's the movie I go to the theater for.
For sure.
Yeah, me too.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, guys, with that is the show. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you guys so much for being here. Michael, thank you for jumping in here. Tell people where they can find you before you head out.
Yeah, for sure. Really good to be here for the last 10 minutes. That was great. But basically, you can find me. It's just Michael Entity. I'm on YouTube. I review movies. I'm also working on a film right now. And if you look right behind me, or right here, this is actually the poster for my film, which will be coming out in September of this year. So, yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome, man. And do you have a
Awesome.
place where they can watch that when it comes out?
Yeah, so basically, around September, we're gonna have a premiere. We're gonna have a premiere in Arizona and New Mexico, and then I want to say like around November or December time during the holidays, it'll be on Tubi and Amazon Prime.
Amazing. Well, huge congratulations, dude. Like,
Appreciate
huge
that.
congratulations. That is, we were talking earlier about the Poohniverse and about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and I was saying, like, like as bad as the people think those movies are, because I haven't seen them personally, those
Oh
people
man,
had an idea, they went out, they made it, and it was admirable. And there's so many people who want to make movies, who have movie ideas that don't take the plunge and don't do it, and you did it. So that's super admirable, dude, and proud of you. That is incredible. I'm looking forward to watching that movie, man.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And
Sure.
T, tell the people where they can find you.
So, Michael, I'm actually close to New Mexico, so I definitely will keep up with you for that premiere date in, you said October, so I can definitely make my way out there to support your film. That's awesome. But you can find me at Have You Seen That with T, my YouTube channel. You could also find me at Letterbox. Have You Seen That? Today I'll be dropping my Ghostbusters, Roadhouse, and there's one more. There was one more that in Late Night with the Devil. I'm going to check that out today. So those reviews will be posted a little bit later on today. But yeah, working to keep these movie reviews going.
Perfect, man. Looking forward to seeing those reviews. And I also want to thank Zach Attack in the chat here for being here and joining us for the show, and the Ace Avenue again for the super chat, as well as being here for the show. And yeah, guys, you can catch us again next week. We'll talk to you then. Take care.
Thanks a lot.